if you haven't sussed it out yet that the coronavirus is total bullshit, then you're falling for the psyop. This is the biggest psyop they've ever tried against us, although they do try it every so often anyway. But let's look, let's to put it to bed for good, all right? Here you go. Corona deaths this year, and I'm disputing that 2,770 as well, by the way. I suspect a lot of them were just natural causes anyhow. Now, let's put that in perspective. Seasonal flu deaths this year, which was, of course, was last year, I'm guessing. 75,636, as opposed to 2,770. Oh, okay, well, let's not worry about that. Let's move down a bit. Obese people in the world. 751,039,737, although whoever had time to count all them up must have a boring life. People who died of hunger today. 25,925. Let's compare that back to the coronavirus. 2,770. 25,925 died of starvation. The coronavirus is utter bullshit. Happiness is your birthright. It's 2020 and I'm wondering why we still have people in jail for weed. M370 bombshell. Secret connection between MH17 and MH370 exposed. MH370 and MH17 were both tragic Malaysian airline Boeing 777s that suffered disaster within months of each other. But there is another connection that is far less known, it has been claimed. Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 went missing 6 years ago on March 8, 2014, en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, with 239 people on board. No wreckage of the plane was ever found, nor could the authorities conclusively explain what happened to it. However, the investigation suggested it may have ended up at the bottom of the southern Indian Ocean, more likely on an island somewhere, Bikini Atoll, somewhere around there, I would suspect. A few months after the disaster, Malaysian Airlines Flight 17 was shot down over eastern Ukraine and all 298 people on board perished, allegedly. This occurred during unrest in eastern Ukraine that escalated into armed conflict between pro-Russian separatists and the Ukrainian government, a few months after the Russian annexation of Crimea. It transpired Russian-backed rebels had fired the anti-aircraft missile at MH17 using a buck provided by the Russian military. While the international community put this down to an accident from a group of untrained militants, others suggested it could have been a more calculated move by the Russian government. But I think it was total bollocks myself, to be honest with you. EU chaos. Watch as Turkish armed vehicles pull down border fence for migrants. On Friday, a video was shared on social media showing that Turkish security forces used an armoured vehicle with a rope to pull down the fence at the Greek border and allow migrants to pass. The vehicle, according to Greek media, is one of the Hizir 80s type vehicles with daytime and nighttime border surveillance vehicles, which Turkey received from May to August 2019, financed by a programme, ironically enough, mostly paid for by the EU. Links are in the description if you want to see the video. Turkish Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu over the weekend stated that the migrants who cross to Europe would go above 1 million, which would cause the fall of European governments and destabilisation of their economies. Meanwhile, Turkey continues with its claims of rescuing migrants in distress. A total of 60 asylum seekers, most of them children, were rescued off Turkey's Aegean coast, security sources said on Sunday. You see, they're going after us every way they possibly can. And this probably won't shock you because it didn't shock me, but you never know, you may not have seen it. Meet the international bank head that swindled millions using lawyers and crooked bankers. Well, that's a misnomer by itself because all bankers are crooked. Jahangir Hajivu, former chairman of the International Bank of Azerbaijan, used a tangled web of shell companies to move millions out of the bank. Now, decades after his scheme began, the astounding details of his brazen fraud are starting to come to light. On a salary of just $70,650 in 2008, Hijevyev had amassed himself 4 mansions in the English countryside, a $42.5 million Gulfstream jet, a $13 million golf club outside London, and a villa in Sardinia. According to Bloomberg, his wife dropped $20 million on diamonds and designer handbags as he borrowed an additional to looting the bank to support his lifestyle. It was in 2015 when reality started to hit. The directors of Hijev's company, Luma 2014 PTC, set up a control to control his assets, realised that creditors were circulating while its cash balance was dwindling. On his board were 2 attorneys and Denton's, the world's biggest law firm. One of those directors advised the others in 2015 that Hajivyev was in the middle of recognising his personal wealth and finances, which are restricted cash flows, and that the process should be completed within the next 60 days when liquidity issues should be restored. 3 months later, he was charged in his home country with raiding the bank he ran since 2001 and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. And yet we had all that bullshit over here with the corrupt bankers, and not one of them was jailed. Just shows you the banks control the UK. Simple as that. Prosecutor says Weinstein should reflect lifetime of sexual abuse. His sentence should. Disgraced movie mogul and Me Too poster boy Harvey Weinstein is awaiting what will be at all likelihood be a de facto life sentence for the nearly 70-year-old mogul whose health has allegedly deteriorated significantly following his epic fall from grace, going from one of the most powerful men in Hollywood to a federal inmate in the span of 3 years. As the world waits to see what Weinstein's sentence will be, New York prosecutors on Friday filed a letter to Judge James Burke in advance of Weinstein's March 11th sentencing, arguing that he should be held accountable for a lifetime of abuse in which he trapped women into his exclusive control and assaulted or attempted to assault them. Weinstein should be punished not only for the crimes detailed during his trial, but for the 36 other alleged cases of sexual harassment and assault, workplace abuse, and even physically assaulting a reporter that have become part of the public record. And did we all notice how when he hobbled in with his Zimmer frame, oh, I can only have pity on me, feel sorry for... But then when he was sentenced, he walked out with his hands handcuffed behind his back and walked perfectly. They all pull this bullshit. Just ask the Leicester MPs that are paedophiles. DWP lost more disability discrimination cases than any other UK employer, investigation reveals. Yeah, you heard that right. The DWP, run by the government, is the most corrupt DWP ever because of the governments. The DWP has lost more disability discrimination cases than any other UK employer, resulting in almost 1 million in payouts. In total, 134 cases of discrimination against disabled employees was brought against the Department for Work and Pensions between 2016 and 2019. It lost 17 of those cases, 13% of the total, far higher than the national average of 3% of cases lost by employers. These claims have resulted in £953,000 of payout to disabled employees, £713,000 of which was settled out of court across 45 cases, according to Freedom of Information requests. Meanwhile, employers who won their claims received 240,000 in settlements after the employment tribunals decided in their favour. The figures drew criticism from leading disability discrimination lawyer Karen Jackson. She said, "I am always a little bit wary of statistics, but I think in this particular case the numbers are quite compelling, and the level of claims being brought for disability discrimination against DWP is quite high. There is a horrible irony that the organisation that is designed to look after the more vulnerable members of society is constantly falling foul of the Equality Act around disability." Incidents identified by the BBC Panorama investigation included a woman who was sacked by the DWP for taking too much sick leave despite having serious health problems. In another case, a man was fired after working for the DWP for 30 years for missing work due to a severe asthma attack. In both cases, the employees won at the employment tribunal. In response to Panorama's findings, the DWP said, "Fair and respectful treatment is a right and we do not tolerate discrimination in any form." DWP has a diverse workforce of more than 80,000 staff, and we are proud that 11,000 identify as disabled. We are therefore shocked that when presented in this way that the data shows us in this light. We have worked hard to ensure staff always have a route, informally and formally, to raise any concerns with someone they trust, and while cases brought against us come from the less than 2% of the staff with disabilities, this figure is still too high. We have made significant progress over the last few years to support employers and disabilities. We have improved how we manage absence to resolve complaints, and have introduced 1,600 mental health first aiders, but we know there is always more we can do. We have instigated a review of our process and actions following the tribunal cases to ensure all other employees are treated fairly and with respect. However, if you are on any type of entitlement or benefits, if they like to call them, we've killed over 120,000 of you, so sue us then. Go on, sue us. The 120,000 dead people. Oh, you can't because you're dead, which is a massive amount more than that they've been found guilty of, and they just carry on regardless. Not one senior MP has been sacked over that, or the fact of the 120,000 they've murdered. Revealed, British Premier Gordon Brown is a paedophile. Schoolchildren murdered at the behest of British elite. In the early months of 2003, just prior to the illegal invasion of Iraq, and working in conjunction with a London-based freelance journalist who had thoroughly double-checked exposure published by the Scottish Sunday Herald newspaper, I publicised details of a child sex ring linked to senior ministers within the Blair government, and including Blair. I initially published my findings stemming from discreet leaks from a secret list provided by American FBI to the Sunday Times newspaper, and concomitantly discovered that Tony Blair had issued a gagging order to suppress all further discussion of the scandal that would most certainly have brought a swift end to his administration and made Britain's collusion in the destruction of Iraq impossible. The articles I wrote concerning the Operation Ore cover-up and the 100-year blackout order imposed upon the report concerning the Dunblane massacre of children used and abused by senior Scottish Labour government ministers can still be found here. If you want to have a look at that, you may be shocked. You may not, but you may be. The Guardian. Italy in chaos as thousands race to escape quarantine. Chancellor expected to lose Javid's rules. Fears over virus spread after leak of lockdown plan prompts exodus. Do not bring the epidemic to Pugela. You are carrying the virus into the lungs of your parents. Don't talk shit. The quiet rise of Rishi Sunak, a international banker. Well, I'm sure you've got another term for him. Daily fail. Italy quarantines 16 million Britain's told not to go to danger zone. Chaos over monitoring on flights. And now a third virus victim in the UK. Let's just put that in perspective. So, out of 70 million plus men, women and children we have in the UK, we've got 3 victims. Oh my God, how are we ever going to cope with... Oh, wait a minute. That's such a small percentage. It's in the 0.00 stupid percentages. So it's all much more total bullshit fear tactics as usual. Penny for your thoughts, Harry. She doesn't look very happy, does she? Neither does he. And he's thinking, God, at least I'm away from the satanic child-raping paedophiles. And, of course, the rest of them. The Telegraph. Quarantine farce as Italian planes fly in. Despite lockdown, dozens of flights arrive from hotspots, including Milan, with no checks. Well, that's because they know it's total bullshit. Chancellor pledges budget billions to ensure high-speed broadband for all regions. But wait a minute. We've got broadband. It's reasonable at the moment. It can be used really, really cool. How about, rather than wasting billions on that, you get the homeless off the streets and get rid of food banks by making sure everyone's got enough money to buy food normally instead of having to go to banks, food banks. Oh no, because you're a banker. Did I get that right? No, because you're a wanker. HRT could help prevent heart disease. Earl calls for change to let daughter inherit. New pecking order for eggs. Why is kinder? Open your gates, Erdogan tells Greece. And Greece say, piss off! If you want them, you have them. That's what I'd have said anyway. The Times. Labour suspended race pioneer over Islamophobia claims. Oh, I'm sick of all this bullshit. Aren't you? Yeah, I thought you might be. Holiday chaos as Italy closes cities. 16 million in lockdown. Death toll soars to 366. Milan and Venice shut. Number 10 unit will fight fake news. Well, there's just fake news there in every paper and on every TV news programme. It's fake news. It's telling us we're all going to die because of this virus that colloidal silver would wipe out, oregano oil would wipe out, probably coconut oil would wipe, and there's loads of things that wipe viruses out. Non-bleeding invasive bullshit drugs, natural remedies. The final bow. Box office Megan will be missed. No, she won't. No-go zone. Northern Italy in lockdown. You see how every paper's got that story in because they're pushing the fear. But as I've been hearing people, because I'm paying attention to what other people are talking about that are around me, and they're all saying it's bullshit. We've sussed it. The people, the men, women of this country are finally figuring out what's going on. And that as soon as this comes to the right amount, all you bastards in Parliament, we're coming for you. Every one of you that's ever voted against the people. You ever voted for bedroom tax, you're on the list. You ever voted for reducing the disabled benefit, you're on the list. Every single one of you, we're coming for you. And you're going to pay the price. Now back to the bullshit. 16 million people face travel ban as death toll hits 366. 366 in Europe's worst affected country. 366 out of millions. Again, another infinitesimal amount, but they're trying to ramp it up to be, oh no, run for the hills. Public gatherings banned, and there's more to the reason for that than just this bullshit, fake, false flag virus shit, I can tell you. Bars and cafes restricted with jail term threat if rules breached. Because we don't want you talking to your friends and other people who might hear that it's all a false flag, but we're using it to try and crack down on everyone. Third death in UK with cases rising to 273. PM to cheer emergency meeting today. So let's just go over that again. Third death in the UK. Right. More people die each day on the road in road accidents and things. Rather, this is minute by comparison, but they're trying to ramp it into some bullshit. Chancellor pledges support for NHS and business ahead of Wednesday's budget. And he said about all those poor homeless people, let them die. UK supermarkets ration items in effort to control panic buying. So there are still some that are dumb out there that don't realise, that are so brainwashed they don't realise they're being had. Government may hold court cases by video link to contain spread. Number of new cases on decline in China. So if it's on decline in China, I know, let's ramp up the fear in the rest of the world then. 5 billion budget pledge for UK broadband. How about just take 1 billion of that and end homelessness and end food banks? Oh, no, because you work for the Zionist dictators and your plan is to kill us all anyway, so there'd be no point trying to save the people that are on, men, women and children that are on the road, or those that have to visit food banks because they're so poorly paid. OK, at least we know exactly what's going on. Ditching Corbynism could spell the end for Labour. Ian Birrell on the weaponisation of refugees. Or Ian Birrell on the weaponisation of the coronavirus. No, didn't think so. I go shopping with the world's oldest man. Metro. Escape luxury safari here in Britain. Kiss and meg up. Don't be so shellfish. Coronavirus panic buys ridiculed as they fight for toilet rolls. My God, there are so many that are so dumb still. Oh, it's not their fault. They've been brainwashed. They watch TV, they read the newspapers, and they think it's real. Will Rishi, the banker, stick to the rules? Well, he never has done when he was banking, so why should he now? PM visits flood-hit community after being barraged with bullshit about not visiting them. So who's Beck's folding? Who cares? Express. Budget boost. Cash for flood zones and broadband. And the homeless and those that have to use food banks can carry on, he may have said. You clever sausage, Dutch hand wins Crufts. Now shops to ration food. Oh, they're really ramping up the bullshit in these papers, aren't they? Selfish shoppers urged to stop virus panic buying. PM holds crisis meeting as third victim dies in UK. Third. 3. And I bet that they've died from natural causes or something not even connected with it. But if we can get them on the book saying they've died from it, even if it wasn't from it, then we'll do it because it'll help ramp up the fear propaganda that we're pumping out on the TV and in the papers. Italy death toll soars to 366 with 16 million in lockdown. Now, 366 for a country the size of Italy, again, is minute. More die each year from the cold or flu than that. But don't let that, because that might actually make you think sensibly and think, this is utter bullshit. Fear-mongering bullshit by the Zionist-controlled papers. The final goodbye, Parasite, Harry and Meghan's poignant parting with the Queen. Mirror. Harry and Meg's final salute. They'll work for military causes. Don't talk shit. Coronavirus fears. Now it's rationing. Tesco restricts sale of beans, pasta and sanitizer as third victim dies in UK. Government crisis meeting today while in Italy 16 million put on lockdown. Now let's just again put that in perspective. Government crisis meeting. 3 dead. How many died so far this year from freezing to death on the streets? It was more than 3, and there was no meeting about that. That tells you where these wankers' loyalty really lies, and it's not with any of us. The scum. And it is utter scummiest paper there is. Oh, look, Brit 3 dies as bug toll hits 273. More die each year of flu than even the 273 that's supposed to be infected, which, of course, as it's been starting to come out now, of the thousands that have been quarantined, 50% are fine anyway. There was nothing ever up with them. And I'll tell you, I've got a friend who works for a government organisation, and that she had A cold. And do you know what they did? They sent her home and said, you've got coronavirus, just go home for a week. The government are pushing this like nobody else's business, because when, and I'm sure many of you listening that go to work with a cold or flu or anything like that, and you say, I don't feel well, what do they say? Well, you go home, you're not getting paid. The government are sending their employers home on full pay to ramp up the figures for the bullshit fake coronavirus crap. Sorry, I cuddled your wife, Harry. More bullshit. Waste of paper. Here we go again. 3 in Breezy. Triple warning of filthy 65 mile an hour storms. And Katie, I want a baby girl. But you've come out and admitted you sold your soul to the devil, and that's why you broke up with that other long-eared twat, wasn't it? So, you know, you sold your soul. Sorry about that, but you did it. FT. Italy quarantines vast parts of rich north as virus causes cases surge. Now, they're quarantining the rich north because they don't want them to get any bugs. Not to protect anyone. Worst hit after China. Cobra meets to brace UK defences. Budget expected to free up funds. Oh, but because the price of fuel has dropped, we're going to increase the fuel duty, which of course is already at £1. So, you know, like 18 pence is at Asda at the moment. £1.18. So £1 goes straight to the thieving bastards in Parliament. 18p is divided between those selling it and those making it and those distributing it. And this evil wanking banker is going to put fuel duty up yet again. But he'll say, oh, we haven't done it for a few years. That's because the public's at breaking point over the fuel tax, which is then is passed on to everything else. So when they put it on the fuel, they put it on everything. That's what evil, Zionist, dictating bastards we have in Parliament. Saudi Arabia launches oil price war to punish Russia for blocking output cut. The banker, Sunak tightens agenda as crisis Buffy's first budget. And finally, coronavirus. Urgent information just received. You should use hand sanitizer which contains alcohol to kill the virus. Ergo, you should keep your whole body topped up with alcohol to stay safe. Don't take any risks and stay drunk until further notice. Puma accused of making their trainers look like Adolf Hitler. What do you call an apology written in dots and dashes? Remorse code. Why did the yogurt go to the art exhibition? Because it was cultured. What is an astronaut's favourite part of a computer? The space bar. What did the buffalo say when his son left for college? Bison. What do you call a woman with one leg? Eileen. O.J. Simpson wrote, coronavirus, who's afraid? And Ethan Klein replied, statistically, I may have a better chance of being killed by you than the virus.